Martin, take chances he'll be back. Just kind of talk about his situation.
Well, obviously, I think the first thing I'd want to say about Martin is I think he was, very, very professional and effective in what it is that he did. It's not easy to assume the role that he assumed. He did so with grace. He did so with professionalism, and we're appreciative of that. He, as I said before, he was a contributor to the best regular season that this franchise has enjoyed. With that said, he's a free agent. He's unrestricted, and with that comes opportunity for him. He's earned that. He's earned that right, and so he's going to have the opportunity to look at different situations. And for us, we have to look at the parameters we have to work with, and make decisions that are not just basketball decisions, but also, we have to look and make sure everything fits. So, we're at a stage, I think everybody knows, where it's just not a matter of picking or identifying players, but it comes down to decision making, and all of those things have to be rolled into one. It's not simply a personnel decision, but we very much appreciate what he did for the team, and I think that his not only acceptance of the role but embracement of the role should be commended.
Sam, I apologize if we've already tackled this, but you guys took a lot of criticism for James Harden in that trade, and recently Pat Riley down in Miami spoke about their chances of possibly keeping their big three intact, and he didn't sound too sure about it. Are there any similarities to what they're going through and what you guys have gone through?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit different. I know what you're referring to. I think, obviously, in Miami, what he was referring to was just their revenue generation opportunities and looking for ways to do that. And we're certainly no different. If we can find ways to continually generate revenue, it will certainly have an impact on our ability to continually invest in the team. But we also recognize that there are going to be some limitations in terms of that top line opportunity, and we've got a group of people, on the business side of the organization that are fully committed, as committed as we are on the basketball side, to trying to make this the most productive and competitive team we possibly can. And I've got the utmost confidence in them, in what they do. And certainly, in the new CBA, your ability to generate revenue and the different streams that you can create, it does help. But we also understand that, we've been successful as we are, albeit having to make some tough decisions along the way.
You mentioned Reggie's development. It seemed like Tulsa was a tool that may have helped him in that process. With more opportunities to be able to send guys down, how has that been for you guys this past year with guys like Jeremy?
Yeah, it's been an invaluable tool for us, really has. And I feel like this season was our best season in Tulsa in terms of the overall process and the overall system. And it's taken us 5 years to get it to the point in which we feel like there's a nice replica of what we're trying to accomplish there. And, I wouldn't just point to Reggie, but I think, all of the guys, Perry, DeAndre, Daniel, Jeremy, all of those guys have benefited from the time there. And we're really appreciative of the fact that that's a resource that we're afforded, and we're going to have to continue to find ways to use it. Because as we've talked about before, the elite organizations in sports, they assimilate younger players into their team. And that's part of their ability to sustain as they experience turnover or the unforeseen circumstance. It's what you do before the storm hits often, and Tulsa can, help aid us, when those things do take place.
In a lot of ways, the season's kind of been defined by the trading James, and you obviously had the option to keep him this season. Was there ever a point this year, whether it's now, whether it was when Russell got hurt, that you kind of second-guessed trading him in October?
I feel like we've really covered that situation as transparently and as genuinely as we could at the time. And once he made his decision, we turned the page and we moved forward. So therefore, anything that's taken place, I don't really see why anything would change from the point in time we last discussed it.
Russ is still on crutches, so I know you don't have maybe the information that you'd like, but so far, from what you've seen and what the medical staff has said, is his recovery going as you planned, hoped? What can you tell us about that?
It's a little early, Randy, honestly, in the process to get a feel for that, but by all accounts, he's progressing the way in which he should. It would be irresponsible for me to try to become an expert on or a fortune teller on timetable. He's doing well to this point, and as I said at the time of the surgery, I'm not really concerned about his motivation. So he'll be back on the floor when he's ready to be back on the floor and when he's 100% healthy.
Any concern, I know it's not an ACL, but any concern that he will not come back the same guy with?
Well, that's in addition to the various experts on the amnesty provision that exists, there's also seems to be a lot of experts on meniscal repairs in the area. The reality of that surgery actually is the fact that he was able to repair that. So if he wasn't able to have a repair, then there would be some concern more down the line for him. The players that are playing without meniscus and that come back that quickly generally are doing so knowing that they've lost a piece of that shock absorber. So when Russell was able to, and we got the news that that meniscus was going to be able to be repaired, that was incredibly positive news for the organization and for Russell. But it obviously didn't put him in a position to come back, in a matter of months, in a matter of weeks. So, long term, we got the best news possible, and the health of our players and their wellness trumps everything. That will always be first and foremost, and we're happy with how that has proceeded.
Sam, without Martin, not on the roster, but salary-wise, you add a draft pick or two. It looks like you're right on the tax line. Are you guys prepared to go into the tax if necessary? If so, how deep? It looks like you were with the offer to James, at least for a year or two, forever how long.
Right.
Is that a case-by-case basis, or is that a decision you have to make with the ownership? How do you?
Well, we'll look at everything, I think, relative to the parameters that we have to work with. And we have to look at things in a way that will not only look at things in a year-to-year basis, but also over a long-term health and ability to compete basis. I think every team at this stage of this new CBA, with the new tax kicking in this coming season, is going to have decisions to make. Some won't. Either they'll be unable to compete at that level, or there'll be some that can find that in the couches in the sponsor lounge. But for us, we have to look at it. It's one thing to be in. It's another thing to be in for a long time. And as you said, to how deep. But we'll look at every situation. In respect to your question about our proposals previously, we understood at that time that would be a short-term play. Just based on the realities and the parameters that we have to work with. We respect that. We accept that. But that was a unique situation, and we were trying to do everything we possibly could. Once that, once the players' decision was made, we quickly moved to adjusting our scope to a more feasible situation for this organization.
If you decide, it looks like if you decide not to go into the tax, what you're saying is the guys we have are in the draft who we're going with next year. Do you have the guys in place, whether it's Reggie or whoever, to become the sixth man, or Jeremy Lamb to become your shooter off the bench, whatever? Are you in solid shape to go with the guys you've got?
Yeah, I think that's one of those questions that we're going to evaluate over the next couple weeks and really sit down. I think it's a little early for us right now to make a determination about what's going to happen in July or beyond that. We're certainly confident with the group that we have coming back, based on past performance and also what I think is fairly good chance for future growth and opportunity. But we're going to look at everything. We'll always look at everything. But as we've said before, the thing that's really been our engine for our improvement on a year-to-year basis has been, the internal development of our players, and that's a credit to our coaching staff and the evolution of a player like Durant or Westbrook. Has really helped stretch the capabilities of our team and the flexibility of our team and how they can be utilized. And that's one of the reasons why we've made the decision to commit to these particular players. We feel like they're pre-prime players, and they're going to continue to grow. And as they grow, the team will change a bit. We also want to continue to supplement them with players that complement them, but also are continuing to grow, as well as some players that are stabilizing forces as we go through this and look to put the best team on the floor, not only today, but also, as I said before, to put ourselves in a position where year in and year out we feel like we're within a handful of teams that can compete for a title.
How comfortable are you? Mentioned Jeremy Lamb. If he has to take a bigger role next season, obviously a lot of stuff in Tulsa, some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You think he's ready to take a bigger role next season for you? Well,
I think Jeremy's someone that we feel really good about, and I think he's definitely going to be a contributor to our team at some point in the near future. How much and how soon? I think some of that will be determined in the summer. We've been afforded the opportunity to have a very promising young player on our team that hasn't been put into action, so to speak, at this point. But I think he's used the year wisely. The summer will be a continuation of that, and we feel like he's a player that has a chance to really grow. He's 20 years old at the moment. So he's best basketball. I say that about our core players at 24. So Jeremy's best basketball is definitely in front of him. But relative to our other players, he's a 4-year difference between Durant, Westbrook, and Ibaka. Jackson, settles in, right behind those guys in age. So we feel really good about that. But we also need to look at the balance that we have as well with Perk and Nick and Tabo, as those guys are, entering into, the prime of their careers as well.
Sam, when you first got Kevin Durant in this franchise, you moved Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis so he could be the guy. And you felt like that was going to be a tremendous experience for him. And he's got that experience. He got that experience for 5 years, and then you got Russell Westbrook in here. You guys gave him a lot of rope, and it's he's taken on a lot more responsibility alongside Kevin. But did the rope that you guys gave Russell negatively impact Kevin in any way?
I don't understand the question exactly. Can you?
The simple way of saying
Yeah.
Is,
just hit me with that.
Is this Russell Westbrook's team? I'm not asking that question, but Russell Westbrook seems to be a lot more in control and in charge on the floor out there than Kevin Durant these days. And I'm asking if the rope that you've given Russell has impacted or hurt Kevin Durant in terms of being the leader of this team.
I think I look at it a little differently. I think that what those two guys have developed over the last 5 seasons is a pretty unique situation. I think it starts with the fact that they both have a ton of respect for each other's games. And you can see that. And I think there was a significant growth in the team this season because of the fact that, Kevin assumed a lot of distribution responsibilities and really grew in that area. And, as that was taking place, I think it opens Russell up to be, relatively aggressive early in games. And then, you start to see that change slightly as the game progresses. And as we get in the closing moments of the game, Kevin becomes a lot more aggressive. And in order to be a high-level team, as I said before, you've got to have a balance. And you also have to have continuity, and I think there's an on-court relationship there that's really grown over time. I don't know exactly how to define specifically what you're saying about ability to lead or not, or I think it's more that they found a unique way as kind of caretakers to this organization and drivers of our culture to push us forward each season. And I also like the fact that they have tremendous respect for one another and how they compete, how they play, and they've been through a lot of, as I say to a lot of people, they share a lot of the same scars.
What did you make of how Kevin performed, especially the last 4 games? He struggled against Memphis. What did you make of his struggles, and did you learn anything about him not playing with Russell?
Well, I think that one thing I've learned about Kevin, I wouldn't say learned. Let me say this: I think one thing that was confirmed about Kevin and the rest of the group was that those guys are going to lay it on the line, and they're going to accept accountability for their performance. That's a big part of what it is that we, want to be as an organization. We're not going to sit up here and tell you that we, didn't expect to win those games. We did. At the end of the day, as constituted, Memphis was the better team, with I think 15 or 16 points separating the whole series. So the series really boiled down to, some key moments, and we didn't get it done at that point. We'll be the first to say that, but I think it confirmed that those guys, Kevin, obviously, front and center, they tried everything they could to wring the towel dry, and that's all you can ask for, from a team. And I believe they pushed themselves to that limit. They'll also take a lot of things they learned from that series, and I think take it with us into the following year. But I'm incredibly proud of the guys. I'm proud of the organization. I'm proud of the fact that we recognize that it was a heck of a season, disappointing ending. But as I said before, the goal here is to sustain success, and if you're successful at that, it's not going to be without interruption or without disruption. You're going to have to deal with things that are unforeseen and unfortunate, and that's what separates the top tier teams in the NBA, is the ability to press on, in their march for sustainability.
Barry got one more, and then we got to go.
Did you even have one, or did he just throwing one to you?
I do have one. You got in Derek last 2 years of mid-season. Some teams contending teams have done well, enticing veterans, even at some point star veterans, to come and finish out their career playing for a major discount. Ray Allen's a good example. Are you to the point where you're attractive to aging stars who don't care as much about money anymore? They just want to play on a really good team that could win it all. And is that something you can use immediately or in the future?
It's a hard question for me to answer whether or not we're attractive to those types of players, because you don't know that until July. But certainly, as you said before, we'll look for every way we can to augment the team, within the parameters that we have. But, based on what you're saying, we'll look at everything. I can't answer whether or not we're attractive. That's really a question for the players, more so than the team. But Derek has certainly served us well, both on and off the floor. And, I think, as I said before, his contributions to what we're doing will be felt for quite a while. Long after he plays, his last game with the Thunder, whether that was, last week or there'll be more in the future. He's left an impact here. But I feel that a lot of the players that have come through the organization over the last 5 years have left an impact. And that's kind of the essence of what we're trying to do. I always talk about the fact that we're building a franchise and not just a team. And, we're still in the cement is certainly not dry on the identity for the Thunder. Therefore, when people do come here, they have an opportunity to leave a fingerprint on the organization. And I think of guys like Kevin Ollie, that come right to mind. He's left an imprint here. There's no question what the identity of this franchise is ultimately going to mean. And at some point, we're going to establish this identity. But I think dealing with some of the situations that we've dealt with this season, how we've handled them, that's all part of that evolution and ultimate solidification of what the identity of this team is going to mean. And if more people are interested in being a part of that, that's good for the Thunder.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, guys.